The D's defeated, but did the Crows get some luck? The Saints obliterated by the marvellous Dogs, and Nat Fyfe's goal-kicking woes go full circle to save the Dockers. All that and more to come from the round so far, brought to you by AAMI. But Kane Corns, we start in Adelaide tonight. Who would have thought the Crows would be the first club to knock off the Demons in 2021?
Yeah, what a performance it was from Adelaide. It's unbelievable to come back. These are the final scenes where Paul Seaman is running along the boundary line and Taylor Walker's celebrating with the crowd. Massive crowd there in Adelaide. Ferocious performance from Adelaide. We'll get to that in a moment, but what a victory. So they're 2 wins against Geelong and Melbourne, essentially 2 top 4 sides. Have been terrific this year at home, and they needed it because they'd lost the previous 5 in a row.
To the start of the last quarter, you go Melbourne. They had this game in there, keeping 16 points here with 7 minutes left on the clock. And then Tex gets the better of Stephen May in a couple.
Yeah, he did. Thought Stephen May had an off night, and Tex got him late in a couple of one-on-ones and took some contested marks. We're going to see this one go down, and just great work from Jimmy Rowe here. Just composure in traffic, left foot, and he finds Fogarty all on his own. And Fogarty doesn't get a lot of the ball, but this is what he does do exceptionally well. And that's finished. So that keeps the Crows in touch with 4 minutes to go. And then there's this. So Ben Keys will pick the ball up here, takes about 5 steps, gets tackled. That is holding the ball. I'm not sure how the umpire has not paid that holding the ball. In the end, comes back inside 50, and Taylor Walker, as I said, gets the better of Stephen May in a one-on-one and puts the Crows up with 44 seconds to go on the clock.
So Demons looking to keep their season undefeated run continue. This goes out into attack. Kane, this is Nick Murray, first-year Crow. If that goes over the goal line, it should be a point, but over the boundary line, that has to be deliberate.
Has to be, yeah. It's one of the worst decisions we've seen all year. The umpires have been so hot on anything, the players failing to keep the ball in. So in the dying stage there, to not pay that is one of the mistakes of the season. Now, I expect the AFL will hold a media conference tomorrow like they did in the Brisbane and Geelong game earlier on in the year, also like they did in the Geelong Sydney game earlier. So tomorrow I would think that an AFL spokesperson will be speaking tomorrow, confirming that those 2 decisions that we've shown were incorrect. In the end, Adelaide get the win, but yeah, Melbourne could feel pretty hard done by tonight.
To the Crows' credit, they took the game on. Melbourne in this game had so much more of the footy. They had 11 more contested possessions, but the Crows had 45 more uncontested possessions. And they exposed the Demons at times.
So their ball movement's been pretty good this year, and I get the feeling the Crows are really well prepared for this game, and they may have noticed what North Melbourne did to Melbourne a couple of weeks ago in Tassie, and that was stay in touch by possessing the ball, keeping it in your possession, making Melbourne defend the ground, and then when you get your opportunity, take a risk through the middle of the ground. That was what was really impressive. They've got some ball users, good ball users like Scholl in their team. McAdam gets the free kick there. Smith and Seaman have been unbelievable for Adelaide with their metres gained and their ball use. They got their hands on it again tonight. So great coaching from Matthew Nicks, and I thought his ability not to allow Lever and May to play on their own and intercept back there, so they evened up the numbers forward of the ball, didn't allow them to have the free, was a good coaching move from Matthew Nicks. So well planned, well executed from the players, and gives them some real hype around the rest of their season. 4
wins on the Crows. You're prepared now to give in on your pre-season prediction?
You're still going on with this?
No, well, you said you had to wait to see a little bit more.
Mitch, they're 12th. Okay, relax.
They've had 4 wins.
They should have lost that game. They've had 4 wins.
You said it's pre-season you wanted to see a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd still like to see a bit more. They've had 4 wins.
Okay, they've knocked off Geelong and Melbourne. To our Saturday Star Game, we don't usually give this to the losing side very often, but Clayton Oliver, take us through some of these numbers because he was off the charts today.
Yeah, he was. He's had a massive year, Clayton Oliver. I reckon he's kicking the ball more. So tonight he had record kicks for Clayton Oliver, and the numbers that he had, 20 kicks, 13 clearances, 9 tackles, 3 goals. He kicked 3 goals for the year last year.
Yeah.
He kicked 3 goals for the year. He's kicked 33 goals in his career. So if he can start doing this, he will be a massive weapon. Going forward, he's strong, he's tall, he's good in the air, and now he's starting to do this. So it was a great performance. Single-handedly nearly got them over the line, kicked a big goal late, as we're seeing here, to start the last quarter, and was just electric. So one of the best clearance players in the competition. Has always been a handball first player. That's the goal I'm referring to with 8 minutes to go. If he can be a kick-first player,
like Lachie Neale
Lachie Neale did last year, he's going to be a real weapon. So him and Petrarca, one of the best midfield duos in the comp. 2
Crows were put on report in this game. Firstly, Taylor Walker for a tackle on Clayton Oliver. I think he should be okay here, given he gets him in the shoulder.
Yeah, I think he'll be right. Luckily, the shoulder makes contact with the ground, and Clayton Oliver went on to have 38. So Tex, worst case, gets a fine.
Yep, and then the next one was Darcy Fogarty.
With all we know, Lever's not watching. He's got his back to that. That's a dirty act from Fogarty. I don't think he'll get a week because he didn't get him in the head. But imagine if he struck him in the back of the neck and something catastrophic could have happened. That is a ridiculous action from Fogarty. I'd love to see him get a week for that. He won't because the result wasn't an injury to Lever, but what a stupid thing to do.
All right, to Marvel Stadium next, the Dogs stamping themselves as the official premiership favourites on the season. 111-point belting, St Kilda's worst score since 2016.
Performance of the year, and look at how ferocious they were. So we think of the Dogs, we think handball, flick it around, nice and pretty, beautiful ball users, but it's not that. It is this. This was what stood out to me. I was there, I watched it live. It was a ferocious performance. That from Johannesson, who's playing for his spot in the team. Hannon was enormous. All of their guns, yes, they get plenty of the footy and they're superstars of the game, but they're all willing to put their head down and do the defensive act. So their tackling tonight was as good as I've seen. So many alarming aspects for St Kilda, but the positive that the Western Bulldogs are the premiership favourites. They don't have a weakness, and they are a joy to watch. 41
for McRae. The Bont had 26, kicked 4 goals, Kane. The Saints, though, they had 48 tackles for the night. Last week, Brett Ratton spoke about the number of tackles, 80 plus, and not being rewarded. Did he change the mindset of this side?
I don't know if he told them not to tackle because they just didn't turn up. They're a conditional side, St Kilda. When they bring effort and when they try, they can actually compete. But far too often this year, they haven't done that. And this man, they gave him no respect. So right now, he's the best player in the comp. We're going to go behind the goals. Look at this. We've circled him. You would think the hottest player in the competition, the Brownlow medal favourite, would have some sort of attention. But from the first minute until the last, not one St Kilda player wanted to make it difficult for him. This is in the front half of the ground. He's the most dangerous player with Martin in the game, forward of centre, and no St Kilda player went anywhere near him. There was a lack of respect towards Bontempelli, and I'm glad he made them pay for it.
You can go on about their numbers all night. Aaron Norton kicked 5 goals. Tom Liberatore, usually seen as only a clearance player, had 17 score involvements for the game. The only downside was an injury to Adam Treloar, an ankle injury in the third quarter, I think, Kane. Geez, this doesn't look good, especially given he was subbed out of the game.
Yeah, he's in a moon boot after the game. He did come back on, though, for a brief moment and then called it quits. I don't think it's going to be too serious. He looked reasonably happy after the game, so precautionary perhaps. He's got a long history with soft tissue, so hopefully he's okay. We want to see him out there against Melbourne in a massive Friday night game this week.
Fingers crossed. We've seen Dangerfield and Neil both go off with injuries, come back on and then miss extended periods. The Dogs, though, at Marvel Stadium, have a look at these numbers. They're an 8-goal better team when they're playing at their home ground.
Yeah, so if they finish top 2, they just have to request their first home final to be at Marvel, and I hope that happens, and I hope the AFL accommodate them for that because they play that ground better than any team plays any ground in the competition. It's unbelievable how dangerous they are.
To the west we go next. Fremantle, they steady their season at 5-5. Some hairy moments. They should have had this game in their keeping after a strong third quarter. The Swans fought back hard. Buddy Franklin kicked 6.
Yeah, I thought Buddy was looking like he was slowing down. That's the only thing that worries me with him. Usually he would make that distance quite easily and quite comfortably. I've seen a number of times this year he doesn't have the length in his leg, but I guess we can't be too picky. At a 34-year-old who's gone out there and kicked 6 off not a great preparation. This was one of them. This was his 6th, in fact, to put the Swans back in front with just over 5 minutes to go. Fife. He's had the yips, 2 goals, 16 coming to the game. We know about that. That was ugly, but it was brilliant.
It worked.
In the end for Nat Fife. And Rowbottom did everything okay, but Fife was just too good. And then Ollie Florent here just had to lower the eyes. Tough, under pressure, late in the game, but he had 2 options inside 50. We'll go behind the goals to have a look at this. I think one of them was Isaac Heaney that Ollie Florent could have kicked it to. In the end, he went long. It was a great spoil over the line, and Fremantle hang on. So here it is from Florent. He's running. He's not under a lot of pressure. Just a minor fumble hurts. He's got 2 Sydney teammates short, which he could have hit. I understand why he went long. It was a safe option, but in hindsight, he probably should have just done the dinky 25-metre in and got a mark inside 50. Yeah, the Dockers dominated the game. They had 24 more inside 50s for the night. Their ruckman, Tom Hickey, went down in the first couple of minutes, was labouring throughout. He battled on and played throughout it, but this is not a good look considering how much tape was already on that knee. Yeah, he's mummified, isn't he, on that leg? So, and then he did battle manfully, but you can see he's in all sorts of trouble. He's had that knee and that leg strap for most of the year, but look, he's on one leg, gets the handball off to Warner, who kicks a very, very impressive goal from outside 50. But they got Naismith back, who's played a couple, I think, at the lower level. Yep. And also Callum Sinclair, who might have to come in, but it's concern because he's been, one of the top 3 ruckmen in the comp this year.
Yeah, they got smashed in hit-outs for the night, given he was battling with that injury, but they were able to nullify the clearances for the Dockers. To our AAMI clangers next, Kane. You just knew when Ryan Burns did this in the first quarter, it wasn't going to get much better for the Saints.
The only one, though. McKernan had a shot in the first quarter and did pretty much similar to that, but the other side. And Membry had one from inside 50 that missed as well.
The rucks are featuring this segment pretty heavily this year.
Be a good striker from the corner, the Nate, wouldn't he, in soccer? Good with the head.
And then this one, Tom Lynch and Harris Andrews, 2 gun forwards and backs.
He's booing him.
They had a great night.
Look, he's booing him.
I love that on the mark.
I've never seen a player boo another opposition player, and he's carrying on here as well.
And he'd work well at the front of a hardware store.
Very lucky not to give a 50 away for this stand. If he lost his balance, stand rule, 50, top of the goal square, but Tom Lynch got it, and look at the dejected Harris Andrews there after that.
3 goals, 3 on the night for Tom Lynch makes it part of our AAMI clangers for Harris Andrews. As for the Lions, Kane, 6 in a row for them on the season. Damien Hardwick's side falls to 5-5. They've been a bit prickly in the last couple of weeks. This is Damien Hardwick, firstly at halftime about the free kicks, and then clarifying his comments post-game.
Yeah, 6-21 free kicks, mate. It's pretty hard to win the ball when you're either second to it or the count's not going our way. We've just got to get the ball going our way. We've got a young midfield, we understand that, but we need to start getting a little bit of luck, I reckon.
I loved it. It was really good. It was challenging, and look, the game's very hard to umpire, and it was tough. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
Well, they turned around a little in the second, so I guess it's...
Yeah. Someone put a phone call in, you reckon?
So they had 3 more free kicks in the second half, the Tigers did, but it was the first half, a few of these 50-50 calls we wanted to look at.
Yeah, that one there, maybe there was 3 that we picked they could have got. Now, that probably wasn't a free kick to Danaher in the ruck, and there's a couple of 50-50 ones here, but I thought the umpiring was reasonable, and that one there's definitely a throw from Zorko, but he paid it a push in the back and the Lions got it. So I understand it, but there's far too much whinging coming out of Richmond. So they've had it all their own way for a long, long time. Last week they spent the whole week whinging. They whinged after the game that they won. Then they backed away from their comments.
They're 5-5 now.
They whinged before the game. They whinged at half-time on the national stage. Not a good look. So you've had everything go your way. You've done a great job. Brilliant team. We all respect that. But we don't like sooks in this game. And I'd be surprised if someone from the AFL doesn't give them a call this week and just say, hang on, you've had a pretty good run.
Yeah, Marlon Pickett got offered a week for this today at the match review. Michael Christian giving him 1 week for this hit on Brandon Starcevic, deemed careless contact with medium impact. I dare say they'll go up and challenge it, but it's not a good option given how many Tigers injuries they've got.
Yeah, just gut feel, it looks like a week to me. I'm not sure the gradings, and you put in the graph and all that. It's a silly action, it's high. He's lucky that Starcevic is tough and got up. But this one before was the one from Bailey that probably frustrated him. That's a clear free kick. I don't think there's anything at the MRO with the lack of contact and how severe it was, but that was what led to the report on Starcevic.
The Lions now into the top 4 came. We want to have a look at a few of their midfielders and what they've been doing since Lachie Neale's injury. Hugh McCluggage is playing more inside. Dane Zorko and Jared Lyons have increased their numbers.
Yeah, well, they've upped the load, haven't they? McCluggage is now one of the top 10 midfielders in the game with where he gets his ball and the way he uses it. He's getting more opportunity. Zorko's gone from forward, spending more time inside, and you can see that with his disposals and his contested and clearance numbers. Lyons is just a magnet for getting numbers wherever he plays and whoever he plays with. And Robinson was really strong. He's such an important player, but that's massive. Plus 7 disposals for Mitch Robinson with Lachie Neale out of the team. So it's a sign of a good side. Berry's still not playing as well. They got injuries too.
Yeah.
We all talk about Richmond and the players that they're missing. There's a lot of teams with players out at the moment. Brisbane are one of those, but they're just going about their business beautifully, Chris Fagan and the Lions.
Cochin and Prestia should return next week for the Tigers when they tackle the Crows. To the MCG next, Carlton's first win over Hawthorn on this ground since 2000, the same day that Sam Walsh was born.
Yeah.
And it wasn't all their own way in the first half. In saying that, the Hawks probably could have had more of an opportunity up to half-time, but they butchered it after the main break.
It's just exactly where Hawthorn are at. They give effort every week. They have a crack. They're strong around the ball. They just don't have enough talent in their side. So this was probably how we thought the game's going to play out. Big mistake there from Kaczynski. Look at the score there on the cusp of three-quarter time, and Carlton go down the other end and score. So 2-goal swing there from a shot that should have been had in the goal square. So they just make simple mistakes or mistakes under not a lot of pressure, and that's the sign of a team with not a lot of quality in it. As I said, I respect them. Thought Warple was terrific. Mitchell won plenty of the footy. Bruce kicked 3. All their senior guys were good. But we've said it again, they need an injection of youth and talent.
David Teague said it was the biggest spray he's given his side to the main break today in his whole coaching career.
It's good to hear that, because
Yeah.
he's very mellow, he's very calm with his group, who have been highly frustrating.
He said Zach Williams wasn't defending like the rest of his team in the first half. What do you made of this to half-back? So he's played the last 2 weeks across half-back, 6-year deal, more than $800,000 a season. I think this is a waste to see him use at half-back, given what they used and the contract they gave him coming in as a midfielder.
Well, if he plays like this, at least you're getting something out of him from half-back and some drive. But it's a perplexing one where you go and pay massive money for a midfielder who you don't know if he can play midfield. There was no evidence to suggest that he could play midfield, other than perhaps one game that I heard a lot of people refer to against the Giants last year. Against, can't remember the side.
Collingwood in the
Collingwood. So one game they've gone off, giving him a massive 6-year deal at $850, to use your words, and they don't know whether he can play midfield. And now, early on in the season, they've had to turn him back into the role that they know he can play across half-back, which leaves Cripps and Walsh 2 out again in the midfield. So what are they going to do when they play the Western Bulldogs and the teams with really deep midfields? They're going to get fanned out again.
Yep, so Ed Curnow won the David Parker Medal for best player on the ground. Down the highway next, the Gold Coast Suns, Kane. Gee, they butchered a few shots in front of goal. They probably could have taken it up further to the Cats, but a second half burst. The Cats kicked 7 of 8 goals. Quinton Narkle stood up in the midfield with no Dangerfield and Mitch Duncan out concussed.
Yeah, what about Narkle and Selwood? So Narkle's had 34, 15 contested. I haven't seen this from him before, so this is a bonus. Duncan goes off the ground. We'll get to that in a second. So he steps up. Selwood still doing what Selwood has done for 15 years, getting 39. But this is the story of it for me. Quinton Narkle looking like a pretty impressive player. The way he used the ball, where he won the footy, and he's good around goals as well. So if they can continue this production from him, it's another real string to their midfield bow.
Feels like we've shown a lot of Suns' defensive efforts this season, Kane. This is 2 goals of difference in the third quarter. Jeremy Cameron allowed to do as he pleased at a contest in the forward 50.
He actually doesn't have an opponent here. It's remarkable. Forward stoppage, one of the more dangerous players on the ground, running onto his left foot. So it's Will Power. He's got his hands on his hips at the back of this stoppage. You've got 2 spares there for Gold Coast. Go and get Jeremy Cameron. Power does nothing. He just watches the ball sail over his head. So that is a defensive lapse that shouldn't be happening with a Gold Coast group now. This is not Gold Coast from 9 years ago. This is 10 years in. And look at the work rate here. This is a lesson for any forward. This is the modern forward. Get up the ground, help your team defend. As soon as you sniff that your team has won it, you got to sprint hard, reset as a forward, and that's where you get some free space as a forward when that ball movement's coming in fast. So Jeremy Cameron's on fire. He's kicked 16 in his 5 games. They couldn't have asked for anything more from him.
He's been electric down at the Cattery in particular. To that Duncan injury, Kane is going to miss at least 1 week, you would predict, from this concussion. Does Nick Holman have much to worry about here? It looks like the textbook run-down tackle until the last moment.
Can you get reported for a decision that the umpires awarded your way for holding the ball? So it was one of holding the ball free kick. There was no sling. There was no extra force into the ground. So there are accidents that happen in the game. It's a tough game. I would hate to see him get suspended for that.
I agree. To the ladder we go next, Kane. Well, the Dogs, they go past the Demons with that result in Adelaide and
20%
Geelong.
Tonight, the Dogs, they nearly increased their percentage by 20. So Melbourne slipped to second on the ladder. Geelong and Brisbane just sitting nicely. Port Adelaide, as we've spoken about, have lost touch with the top 4. But of course, West Coast and Port Adelaide play tomorrow.
Fremantle moved to 5 and 5, equal pegging with Richmond, if you can believe that. The Giants would love a win tomorrow to move up to that same standing. And, well, you look there, Hawthorn, don't think they're going to be moving anytime soon.
No, that's it. And the top 8 nearly set.
Yep.
I would have thought.
To the rest of the round we go next. Some intriguing games tomorrow. Firstly, with that Giants game at Giants Stadium, the Pies and the Power, Kane. Who would have thought we'd be talking about this game and the jumper controversy, but not the prison bars?
Yeah, there'll be no prison bars. Taylor Adams back in for Collingwood, so he'll definitely help them from the midfield, and you'd expect Essendon to be too good for North.
All right, thanks for that. That's all we have time for from the round so far in round 10. We'll see you same time, same place next week.